So in this video, I will be explaining why Ten Hag opts to use a very high and narrow front three when pressing the opposition in their defensive third. I'm also going to analyse what Casemiro brought to the centre-back position, and my problem with playing Scott McTominay in that deep single pivot, and I'll also be breaking down both goals, as well as some attacking patterns of play that I think worked very well for United in this game. But before I go any further, let me tell you why you should consider downloading the OneFootball app, because it's become my all-in-one place for keeping up to date with the latest football news, whilst also being able to follow Manchester United specifically, giving me access to all the latest news, videos and articles. It's also the best place to keep up to date with any live football, as during the World Cup they had a live ticker for any updates on the match, confirmation for the lineups as well as a rating for each player, and also all the team stats you need as well to get a better in-depth view of how the game played out rather than just the goals scored. So if you want to support the channel and think you'd also be interested in looking at the OneFootball app, I'll leave it linked in the description and comments below. So from the start of the game, we saw United's 4-2-3-1 become a 2-3-2-3 in the build-up phase, with Vincent Kompany's Burnley pressing United aggressively in a 4-4-2 shape, which is a familiar defensive shape from Burnley, but a completely different pressing shape to the one we saw Sean Dyche deploy, with English football fans used to seeing Burnley sit deep and compact in their 4-4-2 shape. However, Kompany's 4-4-2 defensive shape sees the wingers being willing to push up alongside the two centre forwards, who are there looking to cut the passing lane into the deep single pivot behind them, which in this game was McTominay, and Burnley's two central midfielders, which in this game was Jack Cork and Josh Cullen, were also willing to follow Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes should they drop into deep positions alongside McTominay as well. Now we did see Ten Hag instruct Dubravka to push out to the edge of his box, creating a back three with Casemiro and Lindelof either side, and the aim of this is not just to give United a wider base to circulate the ball around Burnley's front two, but also create a 4v3 situation, with Dubravka, Casemiro and Lindelof able to draw the two centre forwards, which was Barnes and Brownhill, towards them as they look to apply the pressure, which in theory should allow McTominay to float in behind them, open up a passing lane, receive the ball and then turn out, giving United the opportunity to beat Burnley's frontline press, and doing so through the centre of the pitch. However, I thought McTominay was incredibly poor in this single pivot position in a few different areas. When United had the ball in build-up with one of the two centre-backs, I didn't think McTominay did enough to move across and open up passing lanes between the two Burnley centre-forwards. And most of the time, a pass from the centre-backs into McTominay was being completely cut out by both Barnes and Brownhill. And this is an area of McTominay's game that he definitely needs to work on, is if you have a player like Rodri or Sergio Busquets, who can drop in and open up passing lanes directly from the centre-backs, then this makes it so much easier for your side to play out of frontline pressure, moving the ball from the defensive into the middle third. But also when McTominay did receive the ball, I thought he was incredibly poor in possession. Here in the second half, we see that Casemiro is going to play the pass into Wan-Bissaka, who's going to bounce the ball back into McTominay in the centre of the pitch. And you can see here that the Burnley central midfield has dropped off, meaning that when the ball does go into McTominay, he has the time and space to turn with the ball, and he even has the option of driving forward with the ball to progress the ball into the Burnley half. Instead, he looks to switch the play over to the left side out to Malacia, but gets it completely wrong, and the ball gets intercepted by Benson, and now Burnley have the ball in a dangerous area with a lot of United's players high up the field. And this was just one of a number of different times that we saw McTominay give the ball away easily, leading to the attack breaking down, whether this was in his own half or sometimes even in the opposition's half, where he just got a pass wrong, which led to Burnley being able to intercept the ball and the attack completely breaking down. And this is a major issue with playing Casemiro at centre back, not because I have any problems with Casemiro actually at centre back himself, but it means Casemiro can't play in the defensive midfield position, meaning that one of Scott McTominay or Fred have to come in, and neither player has the passing ability or reading of the game to play this role to a suitably high level. However, despite McTominay's lack of passing ability, we did see increased passing ability from Casemiro in that centre back position. See, in central midfield he used to receiving the ball with his back to goal under immediate pressure, but in this centre back position he was able to receive the ball in front of Burnley's 4-4-2 defensive shape, get the ball out of his feet and then either look for a long or incisive pass. And we saw this passing ability a few times in the first half, with Casemiro playing a long pass from his own box over to Marcus Rashford on the right side, progressing the ball into Burnley's half, and then another time when United had the ball already in Burnley's half, and the ball goes into Casemiro on the right, and he attempts to find Martial on the far side of the pitch with a fantastic curling left-footed pass. However, this time it was slightly overhit. Nevertheless, it did show Casemiro's ability to switch play with long passes from deep when starting from a deeper position in this ball-playing centre-back role. Now out of possession, United did have to contend with a Burnley side that was willing to keep the ball rather than go direct into the two strikers. Burnley were moving into a 2-3-2-3 shape in possession, with Jack Cork playing the same role as McTominay, dropping and becoming a deep single pivot, with Brownhill and Josh Cullen pushing up in between the lines either side of him. And in the middle third, United were defending in a 4-2-3-1, and we did see Lindelof tracking the movement of Barnes when he did look to drop deep and link the attack, and so Ten Hag was prepared if Burnley did look to go for a more direct route. Now despite Vincent Kompany's Burnley having a greater share of the ball than say Sean Dyche's Burnley would have, this wasn't all bad for Ten Hag as it allowed United to press aggressively from Burnley's build-up phase in their own defensive third, and United's 4-2-3-1 in the middle third would almost become a 4-2-1-3 shape, with Garnacho and Rashford retaining very high and narrow positions either side of Martial, allowing them to apply pressure to the centre-back on their side when they received the ball, with Martial squeezing across looking to cut off the pass back to the keeper, and Bruno Fernandes pushing up onto Jack Cork, and the wide attacker on the other side, Garnacho or Rashford, also retaining a high and narrow position. And so this would essentially give United a 4v4 in the central part of Burnley's defensive third. However, because of this extremely narrow front three, Burnley's wingers advancing and pushing the fullbacks backwards, and both Eriksen and McTominay having to man-to-man press central players, this meant that in the build-up phase the Burnley fullbacks had an incredible amount of space, and this gave Burnley the option of playing around the United press by moving it into one of the centre-backs and then down the line to one of the fullbacks, who could then dribble out with the ball. Or a more efficient way of doing this would be to have one of the centre-backs or the goalkeeper loft a pass over United's pressing front line out to one of the fullbacks who could then control the ball and move the ball into the middle third. However, Burnley's deeper players didn't really seem to have the ability to move the ball quickly or play these long passes over the top of United's pressing line to release the fullbacks, and so they would often go long into the wingers, which would often allow United to win that aerial ball, head the ball back inside and regain possession. Against the Premier League side with this setup, I think United would have had a few problems, with the keeper just pinging a pass out to the fullback and bypassing their whole pressing shape. And so this is definitely something that Ten Hag will have to look out for as he goes back into the Premier League, as most Premier League sides are going to have the quality in the deeper phases of the pitch to be able to play these sorts of lofted balls out to the fullbacks. But if Burnley's fullbacks were causing an issue for United, one of United's fullbacks, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, was key to opening up Burnley's defence and giving United the lead inside the first half. We can see here that United have pushed Burnley back into their defensive third, and Bruno Fernandes has the ball in front of the Burnley midfield line. And because Burnley are using a 4-4-2 shape, Goodmanson, the left-sided midfielder, has to track the run of Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the right side. But credit to Wan-Bissaka, rather than holding a wide position on the right flank, he instead looks to make a bursting run in behind his player, and Bruno Fernandes' pass from the other side of the pitch is weighted and timed perfectly, and Wan-Bissaka really instinctively, he doesn't have much time to think, but he manages to get a firm connection, knocks the ball back across goal, and Eriksen, similar to how Gundogan does for Pep at Manchester City, carries on his run into the box and gets into the goal scoring position and puts the ball into the back of the net. And United deserved the goal. They had many opportunities, though we did see United use different avenues in order to exploit Burnley. We can see here that Burnley's right-sided centre-back Harwood Bellis has the ball, and United are looking to press Burnley in that narrow 4-2-3-1 with Garnacho and Rashford very narrow and high close to Martial. And we see the benefit of this in this situation as Harwood Bellis tries to split Fernandes and Rashford with a low ball. Rashford firstly makes the interception and then moves the ball on quickly into Bruno Fernandes, who now has the ball goal side of the Burnley midfield. And Martial's movement in this situation is fantastic. He knows that if he makes a run down the right side of Harwood Bellis, then it's going to close off the space for Garnacho, so he makes a run across the centre-back, dragging him over to the left side and opening up the pass from Fernandes into Garnacho. And Fernandes yet again plays the perfect way and timing of a through ball, releases Garnacho, and really Garnacho should score, he just doesn't get enough on the finish, though Peacock Farrell in goal did well to come out and close down the angle. But Garnacho had another well-worked opportunity that he failed to take advantage of in the first half. We see here that Burnley are pressing United very aggressively, with their forward and midfield line pushed up aggressively in United's defensive third, giving them 6 players pressing United in United's defensive third. Burnley's man-to-man pressure makes it incredibly hard for United to play out of their defensive third via a combination of short passes, so instead we see Malacia play a long pass into Bruno Fernandes, who is able to drop off into the vacated space that's been left behind by the high Burnley midfield line, and his dummy is fantastic, moving the ball into the path of Anthony Martial, who's able to turn with the ball. And this is exactly what Martial provides as a centre forward, being the player to slightly drop off from the defensive line, receive the ball to feet, and then you've got runners like Marcus Rashford from the right, and in particular in this move, Alejandro Garnacho making that bursting run ahead of his fullback from the left side. And Martial's weight and timing of the through ball to Garnacho is perfect. but Garnacho seems to just lose his composure as he's running through on goal, and in the end a chance is wasted. So whilst Garnacho was unable to take either of these two opportunities, we were able to see just how effective United's quick transition and attack can be, firstly by what you could call a counter press, winning the ball back in the middle of the pitch and counter-attacking directly, and secondly via going more direct in the build-up phase. But ironically, despite these two chances for Garnacho being very well worked from start to finish from United, United's second goal of the game came from more of a dysfunctional build-up. We see here that Burnley are pressing United in a man-to-man 4-4-2 shape high up the pitch, and what we see is Casemiro moves into a central defensive midfield kind of position because he's being marked out of the game by Josh Brownhill, and Harvey Barnes does a great job of cutting off the pass over to the left side and Lindelof, with Casemiro pushing up towards the edge of the box, retaining a more central position. This allows Aaron Wan-Bissaka to drop deep along the right flank, opening up a passing lane from Dubravka into his feet, and when Wan-Bissaka receives the ball, you can see that Burnley do a great job of shifting over, with Benson looking to apply pressure to Wan-Bissaka and Burnley as a whole cutting off United's short passes. However, as the build-up breaks down, McTominay does well to win a duel in the centre of the pitch, moving the ball onto Marcus Rashford. And from here the goal is all about Marcus Rashford's individual ability. He drives forward with the ball, pushing into the Burnley half. Martial does well to make the run ahead of Rashford down that right side, drawing the Burnley left back backwards slightly and allowing Rashford to completely glide past him into the box, and the dribble and the direct finish across the goalkeeper into the far corner combined was very Ronaldo 2006 to 2009-esque. And in my video analysing Rashford, which was released a few weeks ago, which I will leave linked in the description, I did talk about what he needs to do to move to that top level, and this goal was a perfect example of what Rashford can do when he's at his best. So overall, a very good performance from United, definitely deserved the victory. They showed their ability not just to counter press when they win the ball back, but also play out of a high pressing situation, which they did multiple times throughout this game. I do however think that McTominay just isn't good enough to play in this Manchester United side, particularly in that deep single pivot, as there were numerous times where the attack and the build up broke down because of McTominay's passing ability. So that is definitely a concern, as was Malacia's defending in the 1v1s against Benson on the right side. It certainly isn't a major concern, but it does highlight why Luke Shaw is the preferred left back for Ten Hag at the moment to Malacia. Even from a defensive point of view, I think Luke Shaw is definitely the better offensive fullback, but both Shaw and Malacia do have defensive deficiencies. For Shaw it's his positioning, for Malacia it does seem to sometimes be his 1-on-1 defending, specifically against direct wingers like Benson, though Malacia is still young and still developing, so I wouldn't be overly concerned. I thought Wan-Bissaka looked much improved. He still doesn't look anywhere near Dallow's level, but in terms of him receiving the ball in congested areas and even dribbling past players down the right flank, he did look significantly improved from what he did under Solskjaer. So maybe this performance can aid him in getting back into Ten Hag's thoughts, particularly with Dallow being United's only real right back, or it could also put him in a shop window for a potential January move. I will be doing a video specifically looking at Casemiro playing as a centre back, which is why I'm not going to go into it in this video too much in depth, so definitely look out for that video. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when that comes out. You can check out some of my other videos which will be linked in the description. Give the video a like, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and put your thoughts on the game in the comment section below as well.